Hello chaps, this is the Disgruntled Owl, and I love horror and manga. So today, for my first ever Weeb Wednesday, and yes, I know it's Thursday, shut up, let's take a look at the 5 scariest horror manga in existence. Of course, this is not an exclusive list, so if I miss one, let me know in the comments. Horror has always been one of the most fascinating and often obscure parts of Japanese media. Films and even a lot of anime go in big for gore and squick, but tend to lack when it comes to genuine scares, with a few notable exceptions.
I saw her face.
Haha, sorry, couldn't resist, and yes, I know that's an adaptation. However, there are a few horror stories from Japan that stand out, even now, as genuinely friggin' creepy. Today, let's take a look at 5 of these. The only rule being, I must have actually read it. Anyway, at number 5, I Am a Hero. This pretty damn excellent series by Kengo Hanazawa is probably something I'll talk about at greater length in another video. The protagonist, a down-on-his-luck mangaka or manga artist, finds himself in the middle of an undead outbreak and ends up travelling around a zombie-infested Tokyo with all of the tropes you'd expect from the genre. Flesh-eating zombies, survivors turned dictator, weird cults, and plenty of blood and guts. And that's before things go, well, let's just say snooker loopy, batty bonkers, butt bananas crazy. To top it all off, I Am a Hero features absolutely gorgeous art. Seriously, just look at that. Now, it's lower on this list for a reason. As great as the storytelling is, and as great as the character and presentation are, a lot of it isn't that scary. But holy crap, when the scares do come, you'll certainly remember them. Like, a lot. At 2 AM. In the shower. Next up at number 4, Hideout. This little gem comes courtesy of Masasumi Kakizaki, try and say that 5 times fast. The story involves a, shall we say, estranged married couple who end up stuck deep underground and find themselves hunted by a freakish cannibalistic killer. Twists and turns abound, including some really shocking stuff here and there, and of course tons of gore. But what really sells the creep factor here is the art. Kakizaki evokes a genuine mood of claustrophobia and fear that should certainly leave you with a nice little tingle and a genuine fear of tight spaces. At number 3, The Enigma of Amigara Fault. Junji Ito is often referred to as the Japanese Stephen King, and I actually do agree with this. However, it's not exactly a compliment. Like King, Ito's short stories can be brilliant, but his longer form stuff, while it certainly tends to start well, ends up being way more weird than scary, and like Stephen King, he never seems to know how to or when to finish his story. That isn't to say that Junji Ito isn't great at his craft, as this little yarn demonstrates. The story is as simple as they come. A bunch of people show up to survey a mysterious fault in the earth and discover a number of odd people-shaped holes in the rock. On closer inspection, these turn out to be tunnels to the other side. The entrance seems just the right size for a person, but the exits are horribly distorted. They then realize that some of the holes seem to fit them perfectly. And what follows is essentially the perfect horror story. You get a great and mysterious setup, things proceed, get weirder and weirder, and finally we get to the horrific reveal, which I will not spoil for you here. This is the kind of storytelling that should be taught in schools, and it's also why Junji Ito is Junji Ito and you are not. I literally recoiled from the screen at the end of this one. Holy crap, it is that good. At number 2, Fuan no Tane / Aftermath Radio. These 2 series are basically 2 songs from the same album, so I'm including both here. I really cannot choose between them. Masaki Nakayama creates less of a story or even a short story and more of a series of vignettes. Some are a few pages long and some are only one page. In doing this, he manages to focus things entirely on what makes horror scary, which works like dynamite. Things are usually only scary before we understand what is going on and when it can still surprise us. Aftermath Radio is slightly more cohesive, with an overarching theme of the mysterious and horrifying god of hair, an ancient samurai tale of love betrayed, and some of the creepiest visuals ever put to paper. Do yourself a favor. Track this down and read it. Preferably at night. Alone. With a torch. And don't forget, just because you feel like something is following you does not mean you should turn around and take a look. Okay, I'll stop now. At number 1, The Rusted Scissors. This is actually a part of an anthology called Kami no Hidarite, Akuma no Migite, or in English, God's Right Hand, the Devil's Left Hand, written by, in my opinion, the true greatest horror writer in Japan and genuinely crazy person, Kazuo Umezu. The story involves a young boy who just seems to attract horror to his life. Oh, and he has weird Deus Ex Machina abilities that emerge to save him at the end of every story. The anthology is okay, but the first tale from it is absolute dynamite. If someone gave me a bunch of money and told me to make a horror movie, I would adapt this story. The story involves our young protagonist who becomes involved in a bizarre situation involving his sister and a pair of old rusted scissors. And I really don't want to tell you more than that. This is a story that I want you to discover for yourself. It doesn't mess around, things quickly get really horrible, and boy, does this one cross all sorts of lines. I don't even think I can show you a lot of it. While the art is perhaps a bit old-fashioned for some, it's easily my favorite horror manga story, and likely my favorite horror story of all time. Just keep in mind that again, this one does not hold back, and is thus recommended for those with very strong stomachs. Trust me on this. So, that's the list. Did I miss anything? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave me a like, and if you really like me, subscribe. It's very, very helpful as a small YouTuber. Otherwise, take care, and I'll see you next time.